Hello, my name's Rhiannon, and this is Writing Genre Fiction. So today I'm going to take you through my April favourites, so it's things I've really enjoyed in the last month that I'd like to share with you. I've got two books, a graphic novel, and two TV shows. So the first thing I'd like to share with you is a graphic novel. I was on the publisher's website and I saw this cover and it just captured me so much, if you can see it there. So it's called Bloodstain and it's by Linda Sejic. What really attracted me to it was this is the main character here. She's a chemistry major and she's got a job wanted advert, and I really like the look of this creepy guy standing behind her, sort of in his lab coat, menacingly sort of encroaching on her. And I had to wait a couple of weeks till it was delivered, and I was really excited to receive it, and I read it all at once. It is it's quite gothic-y, a gothic modern tale. So this girl, she's 27 and she's a chemistry graduate. She hasn't had a job in quite some time. She takes a lot of jobs that are quite menial. She gets fired from them, or something happens and she loses the job. Her sister's got a baby and she lives with her sister, and their mother is ill, so there's lots of medical bills and quite a lot of pressure on her to get a job. She ends up at the chemistry department looking at the jobs board, and she sees a notice for an assistant needed. And she decides to go for the interview, and it's with the creepy guy, of course. Um, so it's quite an interesting tale. It's quite short. It's a bit shorter than I thought it would be, because there's a lot of bonus material at the back that you get. A lot of stuff she's taken from her DeviantArt page, and she's shared with you. So it's really cool in that respect. I will be really keen to pick up the next volume when it comes out in September, because it's quite a fun read. And yeah, it's just the artwork's gorgeous and the story's really fun as well. So yeah. So the second thing I've got to share with you is a novel by Ken Follett. It's called Jackdaws. This book I found on a list of on Goodreads list for historical romance. So a friend of mine recently watched Sweet Francais, lovely movie that came out early last year, I think. It was such a lovely book, and she was asking me if there were any more stories that I knew in a similar vein. So I went on a bit of a hunt, and I found this book, and I thought it sounded really interesting. It is about a woman called Flick, and she's in her late 20s. She works for the SOE, which is like the Special Operations Executive Branch of the British Army. They did a lot of working with the resistance during World War II. And she is working, she parachutes into France, and this is right before D-Day. So it's set in about May, and D-Day was in June of 1944. And she's got a plan to destroy a chateau where a particular a communications branch is. And meanwhile, the Germans are somewhat aware of this, and they're aware that D-Day is going to be happening soon, but they're not sure when. And there is an officer on her trail, and he is quite ruthless. Like, he's quite complex as well. I haven't finished this one. I'm only about here, so I'll let you know how it goes when I do read it on my Goodreads page. It's really quite interesting. It's quite easy to read. It's quite a light read. It's very pacey, simple sentences. There's a bit of torture, which is yucky. I'm not really into reading about torture, but the scenes are brief, and I skipped, I think, 2 pages over that. But otherwise, it's really quite good, and it's good to see a good female character with good smarts, good capabilities. She's really leading her team. So I'm really enjoying this one so far. So next I've got a TV show. It was Middlemarch, and this is a book. The book was written in Regency Britain, and this particular adaptation was made in 1994. I've never read the book. I think I started it once, but it wasn't quite working for me at the time. And I did hear it was quite dense, quite serious fiction. Like Virginia Woolf calls it the only book for grown-ups. But it was actually quite a lot more lighthearted and fun than I thought it was going to be. So this is Rufus Sewell he's the main male lead, and this is the main female lead. Her name's Dorothy. She's a bit of a blue stocking, and she ends up married to an academic man. And you think it's quite a good match, but then it doesn't go well. And there's a few other romantic threads through it as well. And there's some politics of the time as well. And there's inheritance, people willing things away from each other as they did at that time. It's quite an entertaining watch. It's about 5 or 6 episodes, and it's a good way to while away a wet Sunday, which is how I enjoyed it. So the next book isn't a book that I've got a copy with me. I bought it on Kindle, but I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like. And it's called The Madwoman in the Attic. And as a Bronte fan, this was sort of a must read for me. It's a new book. I saw it in Grazia magazine, actually, where they gave it mixed reviews. They had about 4 or 5 people reviewing the book. Each of them thought it was medium to quite good. I would probably say about the same thing. It's entertaining only if you're a Bronte fan, I think. If you're not, I wouldn't give it a go. But if you are and you really enjoy the the atmosphere of the Bronte novels, and especially if you enjoy the atmosphere of places like Cambridge and Oxford. It's set in Oxford, and it's an American young woman, she's about 20, and she's a descendant through the Brontes' uncle. So their fathers, because they all died without children. So their father Patrick, one of his siblings, descended through that line. And it's the only living descendant after her father has passed away. So there's a bit of a mystery. Her father sort of sends her on this literary treasure hunt, and there's lots of literary references and literary theory. So it's quite hard going, but if you enjoy that sort of thing, do give it a go, because it's quite a fun read. And there's an interesting romance that mirrors Jane and Mr. Rochester in Jane Eyre, which is one of my favourite books. And finally, the last is another TV show. It's something called Witless. I found it on the iPlayer yesterday, and it was this half-hour crime show. It's a comedy. It's not really a laugh out loud comedy, but it is funny, about these 2 flatmates who witness a gangland execution and are put into witness protection. The conflict is that the 2 girls, one of them was planning on moving out because she couldn't stand living with the other one anymore. But the witness protection means that they have to live together now. And it's a short half-hour thing. I'm not sure how long the series is going to be, but I'm hoping it's going to be at least 6 episodes, because it's quite amusing so far. So check that one out on the BBC iPlayer if you've got that one. So thanks for joining me and listening to my April favourites. If you've read any of these books or seen any of these shows, leave me a comment. If you pick any of these things up after you've heard me talk about them, I'd love to hear about it. So leave me a comment about that as well. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.